Hello and welcome to the Research FIEND podcast, broadcasting to you right from under the murky May skies of the springtime South. I'm your host, Bella, and today, I'd like to take a little time to talk about something I have such a deep-rooted passion for, and that's animation. That's right, folks, you've seen them, you love them. Cartoons of every genre to set any mood. There's an animated series out there for anyone and everyone. Now today, I'd like to delve in a little deeper about the long and tedious process even the smallest animations go through. It's important that we both acknowledge and respect the people behind our favorite cartoons. To do this, we must learn about all the little moving pieces and the setbacks they face along the way. So buckle up, friends and enemies. Let's get started. I think above all else, full-length films are the animations that require the most time and effort from the people who work on them. Usually they require a lot more people, and it's even more work if it's a 3D animated film. Back in 2024, Inside Out 2 animator Emilie Goulet was interviewed about the process. She stated, "It starts with a very small crew of basically the director and the writer, and then slowly you'll add what we call the story artists, which are the storyboard artists, and then concept artists will start drawing the designs of new characters, the sets, and the color explorations for tone, etc. And slowly, the team will grow with small teams of people in each department, like the character artists, the people that build the puppets, and the animators, the people that do the hair, the simulation artists, and the texture, the light, all that stuff." Wow, what a list. I can't imagine working with so many people. I get overwhelmed working with more than 2 other classmates. In my experience with animation, I've only ever worked with projects myself, including sound and voice acting, everything, honestly. While I'm sure having some aspects of a scene being taken care of by someone else has its advantages, it must be hard to cooperate with one another to achieve the same goal for a shot. Some animators may have different ideas than you, so communication is key. Good thing that teamwork paid off though. Inside Out 2 has become a tremendous success thanks to the work of Disney's many animators. Time to switch gears from a strict corporation like Disney to focus on when the animators get to have a bit more creative control. Fred Seibert, a longtime animator who's worked on everything from Adventure Time to Fairly Odd Parents to Wow Wow Wubbzy. Being an animator for both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, he's had plenty of creative input drawn into our childhood. However, it isn't always easy convincing executives to keep creative choices into the final cut of a show. In a 2016 article, Seibert says, "I had been successful enough at Cartoon Network that they said, look, you can get final cut on the shorts as long as it passes standards and practices and you give our executives reasonable consultation. Let us see everything and make our comments. But when it goes to series, we get final cut. It's not your call anymore." That was a compromise I was willing to make. Because I felt that if you make the original film the way you want it to make the film, you have a better than even shot of a series turning out the way you want it to. It didn't always turn out that way, but that's the way it was. Yikes. Sounds like cartoonists working for big corporations must battle their higher-ups often to keep creative control of their work. This is a big reason the animation business shifted to better support indie creators. That way, they don't have this much of a problem. But alas, it's true. As fun and imaginative our favorite cartoons can be, it takes a lot of convincing to make sure executives don't cut the enjoyable parts. Cartoonists need a lot of connections and respect from their workspace to keep the final product as they envision. It's just another part of the long and exhausting process to make a great piece of art we know as animation. Now, to those who aren't aware, for the past 2 years of my life, I've been creating my own animations and have a bit of personal insight on the whole process. Just like any other artist, I have many idols to look up to while I create. As early as I can remember, one of my greatest inspirations has always been none other than Craig McCracken. Craig McCracken has had a hand in all of my favorite cartoons and has become a major influence on my own art style. Recently, I read an interview with him talking about his career and the designs of his characters, and I really connected with it because it felt so personal and relatable. He talks about how over time the designs of his characters change because he's repeatedly drawing him. The faster you draw a character, McCracken says, and the quicker you draw it, you start doing these lightning poses. What naturally starts to happen is you eliminate what's unnecessary. This, I can say, is very true. With every character I've ever drawn, their design became simpler and more dynamic to make. Their proportions change. Unnecessary details like accessories are removed, stuff like that. For me, I do this often until I'm left with what's a simple design that I like and is easier to draw and animate. This is really easy to spot in professional cartoons, because McCracken later mentions, and that's why we would often revise models after a few seasons, because everyone starts changing the design, and you see it in every show. I mean, SpongeBob evolves, Homer Simpson's evolved, and that's from the natural process of multiple artists drawing them. Overall, even simple steps like making a character for a cartoon can be long and complicated, but it's nice to know that even longtime professionals can sometimes struggle as much as beginners. Speaking of struggling, I'd like to finish this off with a special comment I found online from Craig McCracken written in 2007. Though the note was written 18 years ago, I found it relevant and relatable, so I'd like to mention it. It says, "As the guy who created and produced the original Powerpuff Girls series, I never got to see the show as a viewer. Because I worked on it day in and day out and was involved in every little detail, plot point, and gag, I knew it too well to be entertained by it like a fan is." Unfortunately, I found this painfully relatable. As someone who spends countless hours drawing and perfecting my work, sometimes when I'm finished with even a very good animation project, I find myself unsatisfied. I'm staring at the same frame for an hour, or I'm playing the audio about 300 times, and it gets to the point where I know my piece like the back of my own hand. Sadly, when it's finished, I find nothing eye-catching about it because I've already seen it hundreds of times. However, learning that even my idol has this problem made me feel better about this phenomenon. And now, I pass this message on to you. Don't ever let this feeling hold you back. If art is something you love, don't quit. Even if you've been drawing or animating to the point where it doesn't entertain you anymore, I promise you it will entertain somebody else. To your audience, they're seeing your work with fresh eyes and will love what you create. Never stop drawing. Well, I've been yapping for several minutes. I suppose I should just sum it up with a very simple statement. Respect the animation process. There are many moving pieces and parts that take a lot of time to see come to fruition. It's a teamwork project that requires full cooperation of everyone involved, including the animators, producers, voice actors, and much, much more. So, next time you find yourself watching a cartoon, take time to appreciate all that went into making such a fantastic show. Thank you so much for listening to the Research Fiend podcast. This is Bella reminding you to drink a little water and have a pleasant rest of your day.